Hey, look, we serve hard drinks in here for men who want to get drunk fast, and we don't need any characters around to give the joint atmosphere. Is that clear?
Anyway, where was I? Oh, I got my hair in a ponytail and I'm ready to rock. So I have discovered this website called improvethenews.org.
Okay.
Just improvethenews.org. And it gives both sides, like it gives multiple, I'll say it that way, there's more than two sides as it turns out. There's they have an artificial intelligence that tells you which slant the news has, depending on what your source is.
I need to get that for my dad.
And they have these little sliders where you can slide them back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And it will update your news feed based on whether you want to see the left, the right, or somewhere in between. And you can actually, there's a little checkbox where you say split, and then you can see both sides. And they have a line, and they're like, this is what the left is saying, this is what the right is saying.
Oh.
But they don't stop there. They don't stop with left and right. They have establishment stance. So critical versus pro. In other words, there's been this whole some of the boomer memes are like, I never thought that, like the Trumpers are going, I never thought that, the Republicans would be the ones fighting against big government. I thought the liberals were all about being against government intrusion in your life, and now here we are, the anti-establishment ones. And what their confusion is, it's a different axis. You can be right wing and anti-establishment. So, or you could be left wing and pro-establishment, right? It depends on what the establishment is. Or there are people who are just against big government in general, no matter what they're doing. Then they have writing style, depth, shelf life, and recency. So a lot of different dimensions. So what I thought we'd do is, another good thing that they do is they will summarize a story.
That's good.
What I thought we could do for today, lots happened over the weekend. So after a little intro here, I thought we'd just go through the facts of what's the latest on the Ukraine situation and just kind of chat.
Okay.
When we last talked, was that last Thursday or Friday? I think it was, it was Friday because it was my daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
It was Friday, the 25th. And now we're sitting here today on Monday, the 28th. And as of Friday, my big question was, I was saying, hey, it looks like the Ukrainians are giving as good as they're getting, but, Russia's going to win, obviously.
Yeah, because they're the big bear,
They got more stuff. They got more people. They got, bigger guns and all that stuff. And honestly, I had no idea how long it would take. But remember I was saying, I don't know if there will be an insurgency. Because remember my whole, it was just Friday and I'm having trouble remembering what I said. But
it's long weekend.
How bad will your life be under the Russians versus under your own, homeland Ukrainian leadership?
Right.
If it's not going to be horrible, you're kind of like, why would I grab a gun and be out there fighting an insurgency if I can lead an okay life under the Russians? And I said it depends on how the war part goes. And I think this is the part over the weekend, as I was doom scrolling the entire weekend, this is the part that I think nobody, I didn't hear anybody. It's kind of like, I know you don't follow sports, but back when I don't really anymore either, but back when I did, like the whoever won the game would come out and go, nobody believed in us, but we did. People in that locker room believed in us. It's like that with Ukraine. Nobody was like thinking that they were going to put up this kind of resistance.
Not at all.
But here they are. And that Zelensky guy, the president of Ukraine, or the head guy of Ukraine, whatever they call him over there.
They're currently simping on him on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like hardcore.
Well, he's like 44. He was an actor who played, he was an actor who played a guy who somehow got picked to be president. Let's see, who's the character? I'm trying to remember what the character was. The character was a like reality TV star or something like that.
Ah, okay.
That got like for some reason like he had a thing go viral online, like on
Hmm.
YouTube or something,
Hmm.
and everybody loved him. So he got elected president. So now here's
What?
this just everyday Joe president of Ukraine, right? Ha ha ha. Well,
So,
that made him so popular that this actor, comedian guy, actually won the presidency with like 73% of the vote.
so we've got
2019.
we've got a president who was a reality star. Everybody loved him. He's now running a country, and he's doing it right. Hell, he's grabbing machine guns. And then on the other side of the planet, we had a reality star who apparently a lot of people loved, who like hid in a bunker when they protested out in front of the White House.
I'm like, can we trade reality star presidents?
Please.
We'll take your guy. We'll give you our guy.
Yes, our former guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I do believe that that's a big part of it. That part of what is rallying them is just seeing that their president's there, and that okay, let's face it. You know, it's two sides in any war,
Mm-hmm.
or at least two sides. Ukrainians are doing well, but the
Yeah.
Russians are like, it's like they weren't even ready.
No, well, a lot of them weren't. A lot of the soldiers weren't. They thought they were going on training maneuvers, and then they're like, "Hand over your cell phones." What? You're going into war? What? bunch of Gen Z Russians.
There's one story out there, and like who knows what's true and what's
Yeah.
urban legend, but like
Yeah.
the ghost of Kiev, is it
Oh,
Kyiv?
yes.
The ghost of Kyiv.
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 Yes.
Kyiv.
Yeah.
If you're gonna mispronounce it, at least mispronounce it correctly.
Right.
Kyiv. The ghost of, yeah, and then there's this other one that some tank drivers ran out of gas and went to the
Mhm.
local police station.
Mhm.
There's a picture of these two dudes sitting there in handcuffs, just like, you know, real sad looking. And
Mhm.
the caption says these guys ran out of gas and went to the local police station to ask for some fuel.
Just charge the government. Well, we don't have any cash on us.
There's another one where there's a video of this dude driving by a tank where they're just standing outside the tank, and he's like, what's the matter, guys? And they're like, well, we ran out of gas. And he's like, oh, that's too bad. He's like, I could give you a tow back to Russia. Dude just keeps driving. It's bad, dude. I mean, the Russians just I read this one article that was just talking about how these problems have been known to people, but it's what you would expect from a corrupt regime.
Right. Yeah, nobody
No.
wants to fight if they know on the other side is prison.
Well, nobody wants to tell the boss what's going on. So,
Right.
you know, when you're the boss, Putin, you see, you know, the spreadsheets and the reports coming to you saying we're spending this much on this kind of
Mhm.
weaponry, we're doing this for training, we're doing that. When in a corrupt system like that, what's happening is at each level, some people are taking their cut, right? So
Mhm.
instead of buying, you know, 1,000 tanks, maybe we'll buy 900 tanks and take the rest of the money, and you know,
Yeah.
and then that instead of doing this training, we'll do it like that, and we'll use conscripts over here because all these volunteers, they've been able to manage not to get themselves assigned to the dangerous duty, you know.
Mhm.
So you end up with and nobody wants to tell the boss what's going on. But there
No.
was this investigative reporter who was going through and like raising these concerns, and he got put in jail.
Mhm.
So, you know, he probably could have told you this is not going to be easy for Russia to do this.
Yeah.
Right? And speed was important. Like what they really needed to do to keep this from turning into a quagmire is they needed Zelensky out of there, and they probably thought he would run. They probably
Mhm.
thought, well, as soon as we start shooting, he's going to be in, you know, Germany,
Yeah, they're gonna sequester him away
Yeah.
somewhere like is known to happen.
and they're going to tell the people, you know, don't fight, just go to the shelters, wait for, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And we'll figure it out. We'll negotiate our way back, to where we want to be, right? That's probably what Putin was thinking. And that's probably what his people were telling him. So these troops that we're sending in, they're really just there to keep the peace. Like, really.
Yeah.
They're
That's
just
what
going
they
to go
thought.
in. It's going to be fine, right?
Yep, they're just going to surrender.
A friend of mine sent me a note. He lives in France, and his neighbor is Ukrainian. And his aunt still lives in Ukraine, and his other aunt lives in Russia. So he's getting both sides like directly, right?
That's the case, I think, with a lot of what's going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently his Russian aunt's like, this is no big deal. We're there to help the Ukrainians. They were, having problems. The government was corrupt. They needed us to come over there and get rid of their corrupt government and restore their proper government. And the Ukrainian aunt is going, that's bullshit. They just want to take us over because we're not pro-Russian enough.
I bet that would make an interesting dinner conversation. Have both aunts over.
Right. So I'm going to quote from improvethenews.org. As shelling and fighting raged on in Kyiv and Kharkiv. Kharkiv's that one that's in the north. That's like really close. It's like 20 miles from the border, like in the northeast area of Ukraine. Delegations of Russian and Ukrainian diplomats met at the Belarusian city of Gomel on Monday. That's today.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And I've been checking Twitter every 10 seconds because if Zelensky goes there, because they were saying he was going there and he was going to meet with these Belarusian, these people from Belarus and Russia, and I'm like, I hope there's a plan to keep that guy safe.
One would think.
Because they'll drop a plutonium pill in his pocket, and they don't even have to. They might capture him. They might just shoot him, or they might poison him.
You could. We all know how much the Russians love their poison.
In fact, I put the odds of this just being like they just have some talks, and then he goes back to making videos and telling Ukrainians to fight. I put the odds of that outcome. Like I'm. It's dangerous to predict stuff, right? But I will not be shocked to find out he's been killed, unless if I were him, I'd be like, yeah, let's have these talks, and I wouldn't show up. I'd send somebody else.
Right. Delegate or whatever you want to call it.
Not that I would think that I'm sending somebody to their death, because if it's not me, I think it'd be fine. They're not going to kill the delegate, right?
Right.
Because who's that? Like, killing him does them no good. It doesn't cause them any problems either, but it doesn't help them, right? But anyway,
it certainly doesn't help the delegate.
And I don't know what good those talks would do anyway. But it is a good indication that Russia's like, oh, this isn't going well. Because why would they even pretend to want to talk?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Unless it's either, as Admiral Akbar would say, it's a trap, or they actually realize that they fucked up and they're trying to figure out how to gracefully back out of this.
Right. And I don't see it. I don't see how they gracefully. Anyway, that's speculation. The talks come amid, back quoting from Improve the News, the talks come amid escalating international tensions after Putin raised the country's nuclear deterrent forces to high alert, reportedly triggered by comments made by Britain's foreign secretary, who hinted at a full-fledged escalation to the conflict with NATO. I'm just like, I don't know that really concerns me all that much.
That's a long headline.
Well, it's basically saying, these aren't headlines. These are.
I know.
It's basically saying Putin went to DEFCON 1.
Yeah, like right away.
What we used to call DEFCON 1. I forget it's called something else now, but it's basically putting your nuclear arsenal on high alert.
Right. Like waking up that guy in the silo. Hey.
Right. Get your key ready, so that we can put them in at the same time and, turn them. And one of us has to pull a gun on the other one and says, put it in your key.
That's right. Or there's some like Russian Bill Murray, been down in the bunker so long.
I just, I'm that one, I don't know, doesn't bother me that much.
Right.
Maybe it should. Like I was already on high alert. I'm not sure Putin putting Russia on high alert really changes that.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Russian ruble collapsed Monday as markets opened and an array of Western sanctions were activated. So this is a big one, and I read a couple articles on this as well. It just sounds like more like sanctions, whatever. But one of the things they did was, all the banks in the world, every country has what's called a central bank.
Mm-hmm.
The central bank is the one that kind of controls the currency of the country. Like ours is called the Federal Reserve, the Fed. So you hear about the Fed a lot, right?
Yeah.
And they raise interest rates, lower interest rates, print money, all that kind of stuff. And they're the ones that sort of control the value of the dollar as much as they can. Their whole reason for being is to prevent too much inflation, but also to let the economy grow.
Mm-hmm.
Every country has a central bank, but in order, like, for Russia to be able to trade with China or to be able to trade with Germany or to be able to trade with whoever, there's this messaging system called the SWIFT messaging system. And it's the thing that allows you to take rubles and send them to West Africa to buy whatever they're selling, right?
Everyone has gotten a crash course and are now experts on SWIFT.
Which is weird because just last week they were all epidemiologists.
That's
with
right.
PhDs in virology, right?
Yep.
Now suddenly everybody's a financial genius.
Living
But this
in their
messaging
trailer.
system, they're basically like taking it down for the Russians, meaning you can't spend any money outside of your country. Now, if you're North Korea, you're like, whatever, you get the bird, right? They show you their finger. I was about to get off track with a Seinfeld bit about showing.
Hey, we're nothing if not off track sometimes.
Giving people the finger. But anyway, if you're North Korea, they don't trade with anybody anyway, except a little bit with China. But Russia, that'll bring them down. Like the ruble already has lost like 25% of its value or something.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It was close to 30.
Yeah, which is bad. I mean, that's bad. That will hurt their economy.
Well, like I explained to my kids when I was trying to explain stuff like this, I laid out, 10 dimes. And I'm like, now these 3 by themselves don't look like much, but when you take these 3 away from these 10, that's a pretty big chunk.
Yeah.
So to put it in perspective.
Yeah. So the weekend was basically, jumping on Twitter. I've been using Twitter I don't comment, I don't tweet, I don't do anything except there's a couple of Ukrainian journalists that I have seemed to always have the info.
Mm-hmm.
Where have you been getting your info?
Damn well where I get
TikTok.
my info.
TikTok. Yeah, no, I'm like, and there's this thing called the Swift whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the thing with Indian. You're like,
I'm telling you,
I'm an expert on financial stuff because TikTok, see.
Well, like I said, since you and I talked about it back during the insurgency last year, TikTok was doing it. People were live streaming it, and I was getting shit. And then 15, 20 minutes later, the news was talking about it. I'm like, catch up, guys. So considering I came in late to the game anyway, I got caught up on it. So since then, I'm like, it's like any other social media. You just got to look at it and decide whether or not it sounds like BS or not.
So how do you find, because there's millions of TikTokers, is that what they're called? TikTokers?
Yeah.
Millions of them. And so there's millions of TikToks out there. Like, how do you know?
Not hundreds of millions.
So I just said, like with Twitter, I've discovered this journalist, this independent with the Kyiv Independent. So I follow him, and then of course from there, there's other. It branches off, right? So how does it work on TikTok? Did you find somebody you're like, oh, this is the person who seems to know what's going on, or is there a hashtag, or is it you just open it and it just it just happens to know that you're interested in knowing something about Ukraine? Or
TikTok's algorithm on the For You page is it's magnetic. It is insane. like I'll be watching, stuff about the news on it, and news, whatever you want to call it, and I'll like, all right, I'm done with this, so I'll, TikTok knows I like cats, so I'll find a cat video, and if I watch it, the next thing you know, that's what I'm getting. If I want news on the Ukraine, I watch a couple Ukrainians or live streams or anything like that. And the next thing you know, you're getting tons of it. And then what you do is you jump over to the comments and you look through, which by the way, they're a cesspool, just like any other comment section on social media. But you can weed through it, and a lot of the TikTokers will make rebuttal comments, and in those
Mhm.
rebuttal comments, they'll cite their sources. A lot of them will even cite their source in the initial TikToks, and you can't really, and then do your own quote unquote research, go off and, read up on it however you want. But yeah, their algorithm is magnetic.
That's pretty cool. I just while we were talking, opened up TikTok,
Hmm.
and the first two videos that it put up there, I if I click the home button, oh, there's the old gays. I love those guys. Wait, where was I? Discover? I don't know where I was. I just opened it and oh, maybe you had sent me something, maybe.
Probably. I
Oh,
sent
that's
you a
probably the
couple
other way.
earlier.
It's probably like you said, it's like so other social media. It's like you'll send me something, I'll watch it, it'll branch me off into other stuff. I might start doing that. The only problem I have with TikTok is often there's chaos in the house. And so I can't just sit there and watch a video, but I can read little snippets of things in between, wrangling the chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
You really got to find, uh, you, you need your me time. And then in
yeah.
your me time, you can fill it with TikToks that I send you.
Yes. Yeah, that's very interesting. So yeah, so we've got current situation.
Hmm.
Ukrainians are putting up a hell of a fight. They, whether you're a citizen with a automatic rifle or see, this is my argument against like my counter argument to the people that are like, see, this is why we can't have gun control because we need our guns in case we get invaded. And I'm like, Ukrainians didn't have guns. They got invaded and they sent tens of thousands of guns out to be. You can get a gun. If we get invaded, there's time.
Yeah.
We'll get our
Yes.
guns when we get invaded.
Yep.
You know. Now maybe I need to go to the range and learn how to use one because they'd hand me one and I'd be like, well, I know which end is the business end. If I pull this thing, probably I don't know how to load it. Anything like
This side towards enemy.
that. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I just heard that if you're a law enforcement or like veteran, ex-military, whatever, you find the Ukrainian embassy here in the States, you can essentially sign up like the Foreign Legion to go over there and fight alongside of them.
Oh wow.
My money says not one damn cop will do it, and we all know why.
Oh yeah.
There's no chance to shoot a black guy
Right.
in Ukraine legally and get off scot free with it and call
I,
yourself a hero.
I think Al Qaeda should be signing up in droves, man.
You think Kyle Rittenhouse would be over there by now?
But that won't work because dear leader is pro-Russian. So maybe they'd sign up to fight on the Russian side.
I should qualify that. Of course, there are good cops. I'm not dissing all cops, just most of them.
You don't have to say that.
I felt I have to.
Yeah, well, don't ever say that in left book. If you try to say that,
No.
people be like, no, dude, ACAB.
I can read the
ACAB
room.
means ACAB.
I can read the room.
I don't know why, anyway, maybe we'll
Mhm.
do another whiskey talking sometime on the whole police situation and we'll lose half of our 9 listeners. So that's current situation. Ukrainians are still giving them hell. I like I said, the big thing I'm watching right now is I hate to say it, but I've been wrong in the past. In fact, most of the time I'm wrong. But they've got
Just
that
ask your kids.
there's that big convoy outside Kyiv right now, a big Russian convoy. Unless the Ukrainians start busting that up, I think we're only a few days away. And the problem with them putting up such good resistance, I mean, it's great. to finally see the underdog, like getting a few good punches in. It's just how long can they sustain it? And
Yeah.
eventually Russia's going to take over and they're going to be pissed, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you've got a bunch of Russian soldiers who aren't very well led who are going to be pissed because their buddies got killed on the way in. And they're going to take it out on the civilians, is my feeling.
Yeah. And even, and if they end up occupying, Ukraine, there's going to be just brutality.
Yeah.
You know.
And it says, I'm not trying to say anything about, the character of an individual Russian. It just, that's how it goes when there's not good leadership, not good professionalism. And if anything, we've learned the Russian army doesn't appear to have good leadership or good professionalism.
Yeah, I think they're like, they relied too much on their reputation, I think.
Yeah. And if they didn't hate the Ukrainians before, now they're going to hate them because a lot of their buddies got killed on the way in.
Maybe that's an end game, because I've talked to people about that. It's like, what's next? What's going to happen next? And maybe that's the end game. Go in, fuck around a little bit, find out, come home, and then go back in mad and for real. Because now you have soldiers, like you said, that have a vendetta now.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Is this just that one huge reconnaissance in force?
Yeah.
Figure out where the Ukrainian strong points are, send in your 18, 19-year-old conscripts who don't even know what they're there for.
Yep.
And now that you have the information you need and you find out what the West is willing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what's in that guy's head? But yeah, I think next time we talk, the big thing I'll be interested in is Zelensky still alive?
Yeah.
And have the Russians made a,
We'll probably have to make another one of these in the next couple of days then, because shit, at the rate
fast.
Everything's changing, and it's happening so fast. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we know for now. And it ain't much. And, how was the whiskey talking?